Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Bon Voyage Besties with your favorite Jersey girls, Rosa and Rachel. And today we're diving into a world where five-star luxury meets purpose-driven adventure. Our guest, Christopher, is the architect of luxury volunteer travel, crafting experiences that go far beyond sightseeing. His journey began in South Africa, where he discovered that travel isn't just about relaxation. It could be a powerful way to make a real difference. So get ready to explore how meaningful engagement and luxury can beautifully coexist. So welcome, Christopher, to the show.
Welcome to Bon Voyage Besties. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks so much, Rosa and Rachel.
So would you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you went from investment banking in London to building four travel brands in such a leap, and what inspired that major career shift?
Sure, okay. There's a little bit to unpack there, so bear with me. At college, I studied law and business and was all set to actually to become a lawyer, and had agreed with my law firm that I could even travel for 9 months before starting working for them. And I agreed that in the start of my final year going into college. And however, in that final year, I won a scholarship from one of the British investment banks, BZW, which is part of Barclays Bank. And as a result of that, they asked if they could send my resume up to London. And I said, sure. And then in the course of those 9 months of travel, I got to London and had some interviews and ended up getting a job with them 6 years into that. So fast forwarding from 1996 to 2002 now, I took a trip, you touched on this, Rosa, to South Africa. And on that trip, in addition to going on safari and exploring the wonders of the winelands and Cape Town, I also helped to build a house for a family in one of the townships. And this experience just added two extra dimensions to travel for me. One, in contrast, say, to that sort of 9 months of travel that I did 6 years prior, in this house building experience, I actually got to engage with the local people and hear their stories and gain insights into their lives. And secondly, it just felt great to actually make a difference in the life of the family that we were helping alongside to build. And so I got thinking, well, I've learned some good business skills. Why don't I put into something I find a bit more meaningful and fulfilling and make it easy for others to have similar experiences to this? And so I decided to leave my job, and I took a year out, kind of like a sabbatical year, really. And I moved to Canada, to Vancouver, and did some more study there. And this is where this idea really took root for me. And then after that year, I spent the next 2 years traveling the world, really, and building relationships with different travel partners and communities before we launched it in 2006. And really, right from launch I launched it in London, but right from the beginning, it was Americans that were booking with us. And that's continued right to today, and continue to add around sort of 90% of our bookings come from Americans. I think it's in your guys' DNA to really to want to give back.
We can vouch for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's beautiful. I know from my own personal experience. So I was born in Dominican Republic, grew up there, and I remember when I was younger, my family, we would go back to Dominican Republic for the summer and for the holidays, and my mom would always bring back like toys, coloring books, and we would go to like the local schools and just kind of gift that to the kids. And I just remember the joy in their faces. And for me, like a coloring book was something kind of normal back home in the States, but the excitement that they had when we would give that to them, or crayons and like little toys here and there. And I quite didn't understand the level of poverty in certain towns that we visited. I was young at the age, but now looking back, I just remember just seeing like their faces and the excitement and the joy, and just being able to kind of give back. It just brings like another level of happiness to you that you just can't explain it.
It really does. It really does, Rosie. Yeah. And there's an organization actually called Pack with a Purpose that has that sort of what you describe as their mission, in terms of you can pack in your luggage things that the destination that you're going to, people there require. And so that's just a shout out to that great organization.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really true for me too. Like I've done some volunteering in high school and in college, and it does make you feel good about the world to get involved in that way. So, out of curiosity, Christopher, how would you describe eco luxury travel to someone who perhaps thinks that luxury and sustainability can't coexist together?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And it's really part of our holistic approach to the trip. So it's what I mean by that is that it's not just the service, the give back component that is beneficial. It's also the accommodation, and it's also the working with local guides. It's working with restaurants that source their food locally and ideally use organic ingredients. And so circling back to that point about eco luxury, it's where we love to recommend those properties that are of a really high standard, but at the same time also take things like their design, their construction, the materials that are used, and so this can be things like using local materials. It can be using renewable sources of energy, or potentially even generating their own energy through, say, solar, or at sometimes like hydro electricity. And also in their daily practices, it's using sustainability principles, which could be things from LED lighting through to even the basics around minimizing or even elimination of plastics. And then also another key aspect of the eco luxury from our perspective is the employment and training of local people in the hotels, and ideally at a management level, and sometimes even at ownership level as well, which is really exciting to see.
I love that. I know when I travel, I always try to do that extra bit of research to consider how I can keep my money in the community rather than have it go off to some like mega corporation or chain somewhere, whether that's like staying at a local bed and breakfast, going to a local restaurant, hiring local guides. So I really
Yeah,
love
great.
that you guys are doing this. It's really important to me as a traveler.
Awesome. Right.
And during my recent trip to Tanzania, the company that I specifically selected that planned everything for us, one of the things that I really liked about her organization is just that working with the local people, the tour guides, local restaurants. But also, one of the things that I felt was very meaningful is that she also contributes back to like local organizations and local orphanage. So I know when we went to that trip, she had mentioned to me if I was interested in visiting the local orphanage and getting to meet like some of the kids that we were helping, by using her as our tour company. And I know that that can be a very intimate experience, and it's definitely not for everyone. I know, again, just kind of talking a little bit about my past experience growing up, I had seen the level of poverty before, but for someone who's, staying in luxurious accommodations that might not be exposed, it could be a little bit of a culture shock, and it can have, a very big impact. So I'm just curious, you are called the architect of luxury volunteer travel, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah. Well, you raise a great point that that can be, really confronting, and you mentioned culture shock. And I think, you're right. And certainly one of our ways of overcoming that is by, preparing our guests so that it's not like an impromptu thing that, today we're going to build a house as a surprise. People come to us for that reason, that this is what we offer. And so what it can look like is typically well, whatever way a potential client comes to us, and it might be through listening to this podcast, for example. They might then jump on our website and then click on and like what they see sufficiently enough to click on the Plan My Trip button, or buttons that are sort of strategically positioned throughout the site.
I do that with my blog too. I have all the buttons, like
Have all the
one in the
pop-ups.
sidebar, one in the footer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then what that does is it takes potential clients to a page where we just try and gather as much information as possible around destinations that are of interest, ways to help that are of interest, length of trip, time of year, and also leisure activities. And most of these are sort of a tick box exercise. And I handle every inquiry that comes through to us. And so they come through to me, and I'll look at it. Maybe if they select one destination, then that's easy, but they might tick a few destinations that are of interest. And so then I will look at the other elements, like the time of year and the activities that have been selected, and then make recommendations based on what what our clients have selected as to what would be the best fit for them. And then if they like the sound of that, then we move to the next stage of, and this can be on a phone call or it could be by email, but go to the next stage of preparing an itinerary. And so this can literally look like anything because each trip is uniquely crafted for the client. For example, well, I mean, you mentioned a trip to Tanzania, so that could look like a combination of a bit of time around Mount Kilimanjaro and then heading into the Serengeti for some wildlife experiences, including Ngorongoro Crater. Obviously, you might have done this yourself, Rosa.
I
Um,
did. I
okay.
still dream about my days in the Serengeti. It was
I need to
magical.
go.
Yeah.
I need to go.
The whole trip was just magical.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, some safari time. And then our project that we offer in Tanzania is building houses for teachers that are close to the school that's already been created in the Serengeti. So this has the benefit of reducing the travel time for the teachers, and thus their attendance at the school and the delivery of the lessons is increased. And then the client might want to finish on Zanzibar Island with some chill time, some snorkeling and exploring Stone Town and things like that. So that's what it can look like in terms of itinerary. Again, there's no hard and fast rules, but quite often we do put the give back component in the middle of the trip. So there's some activity at the start, then the give back component, and then some R&R time at the end. Just that's a typical trip.
Love that.
Yeah, that's a really good setup to have like the activities kind of on the beginning and the end, and then the give back in the middle. So, something that we noticed was that a lot of families go on your trips, which is really, really cool because as a teacher myself, I love to see my own students get involved and give back to the community. I actually mentor the Rotary Interact Club at my school, which is a volunteer organization. So, we were just curious, do you have any really touching stories that you would like to share about some of your clients?
Sure, yeah. A couple that spring to mind would be a family that traveled with us to Morocco some years ago, and they helped to build a library at a school about an hour outside of Marrakesh in a rural area. So they completed that and had a great time. And then I heard later from the clients that Christmas time came and they said, actually, we don't want our gifts this year. We want to send our gifts to the children that we were interacting with at the school. And yeah, that really moved me to hear
I
that
love that.
they were
That's
so
really
impacted
sweet.
that way.
And I love building a library. As an English teacher, I'm like, yes, let's build libraries everywhere. They should be on every street corner. Love the library.
The world will be a better place.
That's
But
for
that
sure.
is very sweet. And to know that you're impacting someone's life. I feel like back home, I work in corporate, so from home to work, and it's kind of like a hamster wheel and a routine. So I kind of feel like sometimes I also like live in a bubble and I feel a little bit sheltered. And obviously, I am aware of the things that go on in the world, but with my day-to-day life, sometimes it kind of in the back of my mind a little bit. But when you get to experience this firsthand, like when we went to the orphanage in Arusha, we got to meet some of the kids and just like listening to their stories, how some of them were unable to go to school because of financial constraint. So my husband, he was very touched by the kids and they were just so fun. And we were just there just to spend like the afternoon with them. Even though we didn't understand each other, a couple of them spoke really good English and we were able to kind of communicate and translate. There was this little boy who was probably about 3 or 4 years old and we brought like cookies and juices and he's like running around, like playing with the soccer ball and just like seeing the emotion and like the love in their eyes having so little, it really did touch us. And my husband made a nice contribution, which kind of allowed for one of the kids to be able to get enrolled in school. And we visited Tanzania back in July. And my birthday was at the end of August. And they actually sent me a video where they were singing to me happy birthday in Swahili. And when I tell you, like, tears were rolling, I just felt like such an emotional connection that I was able even for that day to make an impact in someone's life in a positive way. And then just coming back home, it also gives you kind of like, I guess, a reverse culture shock because it gives you a better appreciation for the things that sometimes we do kind of take for granted. So I can see how this could would be great, especially for families, for children at a young age, to kind of see how the world is and be able to contribute. I think that definitely has a very positive long-term impact.
Yeah, well, absolutely. When I launched Hands Up Holidays, I mentioned in 2006, at that point, I had young professionals in mind as our main source of clients, 25 to 35-year-olds. Myself back then, cash rich, time poor, wanted to make an impact and still have a great vacation. But really, I mentioned that most of our clients were Americans, but also right from the beginning, it was mostly families. And families weren't on my radar at all back then. It just didn't even occur to me that they'd want to be traveling this way. But in talking with them, they'd say things like, our kids come from pretty privileged backgrounds, and we really want them to appreciate how fortunate they are. Or they'd say, we're looking for a great family bonding experience, and this really nails it for us. And that really resonated with me. And even more so now that I do have children of my own. So within a fairly short period of time, we did start to shift our focus, not exclusively, but certainly primarily into that family market. And it's been a real blast since then.
I love to see that. So, would you say that there are specific volunteer opportunities that work well for families, especially for younger kids and teens?
Yeah, I would. As a rule of thumb, what we tend to recommend is that for young children, basically from about the age of 5, they can get involved with our wildlife conservation projects, particularly those that are things like, say, for instance, in Costa Rica, a project which is helping at a wildlife rescue and rehabilitation center. And so this is primarily caring for monkeys and parrots and then any other animal that comes in, but it's helping with preparing their meals, maintaining their enclosures, and creating enrichments to stimulate the animals. There's no touching, handling of the animals for the welfare of the wildlife, but there's just great opportunity to learn an enormous amount about the wildlife at the same time as contributing to their welfare. And so we'd love to recommend those, well, any age really, but from about the age of 5. And then when we do have teenagers, obviously if they're wildlife fanatics, then the
Teens are
wildlife
hard to
projects.
please, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, oh yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. We do love at the same time to promote these building or renovation type projects, because that's where the magic happens. Or certainly that's where it happens for me. And I've seen it in other families where they get that interaction. They get to gain the insights into the lives of other children, and get an immersion in that culture. And then so that's where the things like with the family I mentioned in Morocco, or soft skills that we love to develop in our kids around empathy and compassion and generosity do get developed once you are actually experiencing it and engaging in firsthand. That's, as I say, where the magic happens. And so, as I say, we love to steer our teenage clients into those building renovation projects.
Yeah, I think that is
Cool.
awesome for teenagers. And I love what you said about the soft skills, because I feel like with the teenagers, like that there's so much screen time. And sometimes I feel like the empathy department can be, a little lacking. So I think that it's wonderful to develop those soft skills, especially when traveling. That's really cool. And a lot of my students, it's a vocational school, so they're involved in shops like carpentry, plumbing, welding. So I could see where they would really like flourish and thrive on a trip like this, where I think if I told them to build a library, they would be like, oh my God, I would love to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that's really cool. So for your families, how far in advance should they plan a trip? Because it seems like there's quite a bit of planning involved.
There is definitely planning involved. We can, well, put it this way, the longer the better. But, we've put trips together with, a couple of weeks notice. And certainly one of the limiting factors is around time of year. So, for instance, we're not too far away from the end of the year, the holiday season, which is high season, as you no doubt know, in a lot of places. So if we were to get an inquiry in early December for people wanting to go to Costa Rica or Belize or Mexico, that would be really tough to fulfill, just in terms of accommodation is the big challenge there. If it is one of those sort of locations, then really you need to, you strongly urge people to book, around a year in advance for those places at that time of year. But if it's shoulder season or even off peak season, then we can move pretty quickly and work, as mentioned, within a couple of weeks. But typically, it's sort of 3 to 6 months in advance our clients are booking.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially what you said about high season. Like as a high school teacher myself, my own trips, I book them months in advance just to get the good airfare and the good accommodation. Because if I wait last minute, my credit card is not going to like that too much.
There is that as well. Yeah, for sure.
We definitely don't want that. So I know we talked about especially this being great for families, but we all know sometimes putting kids outside of their comfort zone could be a little bit challenging. So do you have any tips for parents who are looking to embark on a volunteer travel vacation and to get their kids excited for a meaningful experience?
Well, I would say first of all, work to get buy-in from your kids, and so have a discussion and talk to them, and say, we're thinking about including this give back component into the vacation, and see where that lands initially. If it's positive, then that's case closed. If it's not, then but you're committed to it because you know the benefits perhaps that may not necessarily resonate as much with the kids, then it can still be a case of, well, depending on the family, you say, well, we're doing this and case closed.
That sounds like my household. Like we're going.
I was thinking that's you.
They'll be surprised when they get there. They'll love it. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, that is the case. But at the same time, again, each family is different, but maybe
It's
it
hard,
requires a bit of
yeah.
negotiating as well and say, okay, we're going to do this. It is going to be a bit of work. We think you are going to love it. But at the same time, let's think, what do you want to do on the other days? And so get their input on those. So maybe, as I say, some negotiating, trading off in the overall itinerary.
That's a good balance. Just kind of reward the hard work. Like, okay, well, at the end of the trip, we're gonna have some downtime, some beach time, so something to kind of look forward to. So that's a great way to kind of balance it and hopefully lure them into this trip that you know that they're gonna enjoy. I strongly believe that it does have a positive impact, especially when kids are in a younger age.
Absolutely.
And
Sure
even for
does. Yeah.
adults, I mean, again, this trip to Tanzania that we did, I had been exposed to certain things. For Michael, is a little bit more of a culture shock, and it kind of impacted him in a very positive, meaningful way. He was very moved, again, by meeting the children and learning about the family that was running the orphanage. So it doesn't matter what age you're in, it can still have a very meaningful and positive experience.
You're so right, Rosa. And it probably is a nice little segue into another travel brand that I have developed called Impact Destinations, which is sort of, broadly speaking, similar to what you did in Tanzania. And the idea behind that is that a traveler's philanthropic donation will enable the experts in that destination to do what they do best, and at the same time unlock a unique experience for the traveler. And so I think, and a couple of quick examples, sort of similar to what you spoke about, but in an Australian context, guests could fund a scholarship for a promising Aboriginal arts student. And then in return for that, they can have a private session with an established Aboriginal artist from whom they can commission their own unique work of art, is the concept. Or in an African context, on a safari day, guests can fund the relocation of a rhino that is from a reserve that's facing a lot of poaching to a better protected reserve in Botswana. So this is where the guests actually go into the helicopter with the veterinarian while he's darting the rhino, and then land and spend some time with the sedated rhino before seeing it get airlifted off to Botswana. So it's about being able to say, I saved the life of a rhino whilst on safari, and leaving a legacy in that way.
That's very unique and such a cool experience.
Yeah, that's really super
Yeah,
cool. I
yeah,
love
I'm
that.
super excited about it.
Yeah, that's really, really awesome. So in addition to all these great opportunities that we're talking about, and I know you spoke about like with these trips, the guests staying at local hotels with locals employed, how are some ways that you ensure that the volunteer activities have a real long lasting impact for the host communities and not just feel good moments for the travelers themselves?
Great question, Rachel. It really has come down to personally visiting and doing the projects myself to verify that, and always looking through the lens of never imposing what I think should be done in a destination, and just asking questions, and firstly asking, would you welcome people from overseas to come and contribute here? And if the answer to that is yes, then ask the follow-up question of what would that look like? What would benefit your community. And then it's up to us to promote it. And then another key aspect is what I describe as our trips are, the phrase I've coined is philanthro volunteering. And what I mean by that is that it's the funds that our clients bring, which is the main benefit. And so in the context of, let's take that context of building the house for a teacher in Tanzania, it's the funds to pay for the materials and also to employ local people to do most of the work is the benefit that our clients bring. And then the benefit that our clients get is through that time on the project, spending those, really doing the finishing touches to the house. And in those last few days, like I mentioned, getting that interaction, the engagement, swapping some laughs with the local people and immersion into the culture, which is where the benefit comes to the client. And so that's how we go about ensuring that there really genuinely is a benefit, and it's a long-term one to the recipient destination.
Like what you said about getting the actual input from the local communities as far as what their needs and demands are, because we know that tourism, it generates a lot of money for a lot of countries and they rely on tourism, but it can also have a negative impact in some of the communities when they face over tourism. So it can also have a negative impact. So I love how you start off by ensuring that the needs of that community is met, and then getting kind of like all hands on deck from the local communities as well as the travelers that are getting to enjoy these destinations while being able to give back.
Yeah, that's right, Rosa. And another aspect is that the sort of trying to get around over tourism. We're to an extent a demonstration of slow tourism, because we're spending extra time in one location and giving back while we're doing that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a greener way to travel too, to stay in one place as opposed to taking like multiple plane rides and zipping through multiple destinations. I'm a huge advocate for slow travel myself, because I just think it's a more sustainable way to go about seeing the world.
Nice, nice.
Exactly. And you can enjoy it more instead of having to bounce around from one location to one location. So, Christopher, I'm curious to know, how do you see the future of family travel evolving, whether it's for young professionals or anyone at any age, when it comes to the purpose of sustainability as well as luxury?
Well, one thing to just say is a really exciting trend we're seeing is around intergenerational travel. And so this can be uh, children, parents, or it could be grandparents just with their children. And as I said, this is I think a fantastic thing, because it's extending out this concept of leaving a legacy, right from instilling values of giving back and making a difference, and as we touched on, empathy and compassion in the young children, through to this is a way that older generations can leave a legacy as well. And so that's a wonderfully exciting trend. And I think in terms of where I certainly would like to see luxury travel go is an increasing emphasis on sustainability. And obviously I would love it for all travelers to have, like you experienced in Tanzania, that opportunity to give back in some way, and get that interaction and engagement. Rosa, is, I mean, you've spoken to it yourself, and you can see it in your face that it was, even one day was really impactful. So um, people going into booking a trip with that mindset of uh, even one day we can do that, and give it a try, and potentially get hooked as well, and want to actually do this as a regular thing, and for potentially longer periods as well.
I love
Yeah,
that.
that's
It's like such a heartwarming and positive outlook. So hopefully we can make volunteer travel. And like you said, even if it's for a couple of hours or one day of your itinerary that you can dedicate to being able to kind of give back to the communities that you're visiting, I think is very, very important.
yeah.
Really makes a difference both to yourself and to the destination.
Now, would you say, has there been any destination that really has wowed you in your travels when it comes to volunteering and just kind of getting to know the local community?
I mean, so many, gosh. But I'll take one example. Quite recently, did travel with my own family to Bali in Indonesia, and it's a favorite project, and it's a unique project from our perspective in that the benefit accrues to just one person, but the impact on that one person is so profound. So I'll explain. It's building disabled accessible bathroom for a paraplegic.
That's really
And
cool.
yeah, that Bali being a Hindu island, if you're born with a disability, it's often considered to be bad karma. So you some people are sort of hidden away from society and lead very lonely, isolated lives. And so to be able to bring a measure of dignity and independence in an area that's so personal, going to the bathroom, it's really profound. And so it was great to be able to do that with my family. My kids were involved with drawing water from the well and then carrying that water over to where the cement was being mixed and then getting involved with the mixing of the cement and then taking that cement in the wheelbarrow over to the experts who were doing the tricky parts. And then also we painted the house of the family. So yeah, and I should add that they were playing soccer with the local kids and just getting that engagement and interaction as well. So that's one of the favorites for sure.
And that's pretty cool because like volunteering, giving back, it can look different, like you said, depending on the destination, depending on the needs of like the family of the person that you're helping. So it's just kind of figuring out something that's of interest, or maybe if you have a specific like skill set that you want to put to use in order to be able to kind of give back. I feel like that would be like a great component to kind of pick a location or an itinerary that can best utilize your own skills and give back at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, most of our trips don't require skills, but absolutely, if people do have skills, the obvious area is sort of medical, doctors and nurses, then for sure, we love to use those. But even things like marketing, website, accounting skills can be utilized with charities as well. So we do love it if we can bring a match to clients' skill sets.
I have a friend who she's a hairstylist in New York City, and she joined this organization a couple years back, and they went to different countries within Asia, and they visited hospitals with women with cancer, and they would give them like a makeover. They would bring
Wow.
like wigs and just
That's
like
so
make them
cool.
yeah, make them feel special. And it was a way that women from all over the world, they got together, and like one was like, let's say like a nail tech, one was great with makeup, and they all joined forces and visited different countries and visited these women that were very, very ill, and just to make them feel pretty. So sometimes volunteering and giving back, it can look different for every person, and just like a small little thing like a beauty makeover can really transform someone.
Absolutely. That's so great to hear.
Yeah, that's really touching. I really, really love that. I know our cosmetology department at school does similar things where we'll offer like haircuts to seniors, or the girls will sometimes do their nails. And it is true that volunteering can look different in any context. So, with that in mind, Christopher, if you could design the ultimate eco luxury family volunteering adventure, what would it include? There are no limits here.
This is not an object either, I guess.
Yeah, price is not an object.
Again, it comes back to the family, but well, I'll share with you what I think I'm planning on doing next year with my family. And I think it's
Yes,
pretty much
share,
an ultimate
share.
one. Yeah, so it's a combination of Costa Rica and Belize. And so in Costa Rica, we're going to be doing what I mentioned to you at the Wildlife Rescue Center, and we'll combine that with also some time doing some renovation work at a school. And then in Costa Rica, we'll be doing some zip lining, we'll be doing some whitewater rafting. One particular one is rafting actually through the jungle to the lodge where we stay at Pakuare Lodge in the rainforest there, do some activities there, to have a couple of nights there, and then we whitewater raft out again, and we'll do a hanging bridges, nature walks there, nocturnal walks, and then head over to Belize, where we'll be installing eco-friendly stoves in the home of a rural Mayan village and the beauty of these stoves is that they replace the open flames that are in traditional huts, and particularly with young kids running around, they can get burns. And so by having an enclosed stove, you eliminate those burns. And also by having a chimney, you get rid of the smoke. And so respiratory problems are dramatically reduced, such as asthma. And then from an environmental perspective, they're much more efficient, these stoves, than the open flames. And so they're a win environmentally as well. And these can be completed in just 2 or 3 days. So it's a great project to actually get involved in with expert help still, right from start to finish. And then we'd complement that with a bean to bar chocolate making class and some kayaking and exploring the Mayan ruins there and uh, some snorkeling on the Belize Barrier Reef. So for me, that's an ultimate trip.
That
That's
sounds
awesome. Can I
amazing.
join? I'm like, I'm ready
I
to
know.
join.
Actually, never been to Costa Rica or Belize, and I feel silly because I live in New Jersey. It's like what, like a 4.5 hour flight, 5 hour flight, and I
Yeah,
still have
Pretty
not
accessible, yeah.
gone.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
I still
easy
have not
flight.
been.
Well,
But
let's
that
make it
sounds
happen for
pretty
you.
like a
Yeah,
pretty awesome
we'll be
trip.
crashing your trip.
I'm like, well, we'll talk about that offline.
More than welcome.
So, what would be one message you love families to take away from these type of experiences? Aside from what we talked about, showing the empathy and for them to understand like different side of living. So, what would be some other takeaways that you think that families or anyone in general that goes on one of these trips can take back home with them?
So keep an open mind, and even if you're skeptical, just keep that open mind and start small. Like you described, Rosa, even we could create something in a couple of hours where you can dip your toes in the water and engage with the local people and make a difference and see what you think. For just 2 hours, half a day, whatever the case may be, and try that once. I'm pretty sure you'll get hooked and want to even get more immersed on a subsequent trip.
Yeah, I know I'm sold. I'm ready to book a trip. So
Awesome.
what do you
Like, but you're
say?
easily persuaded, anyways.
Yeah, always easily persuaded to travel more and giving back. It does make me feel really good. So what do you say, Rose? Want to throw some rapid fire questions out there?
Yeah, are you ready, Christopher?
Get on.
All right, Rachel, start it
All
off.
right, I'll start it off. Okay. Would you rather stay in a 5-star eco lodge in the rainforest or a luxury desert camp under the stars?
Rainforest.
I think I'm digging the rainforest too. I mean, I have Costa Rica on the brain now.
Seeing the monkeys out in the jungle, it was so cool. Although I was disappointed, I didn't see any sloths when I went to Costa Rica.
Oh, you saw no sloths?
No, I was always on the lookout.
Huh.
There was this one tour guide that he was pointing like high up on a tree, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't think that's it. So now I have to go back just so I can spot a sloth. So I guess I will sleep in the rainforest too. All right. Would you rather spend a day volunteering at a local wildlife sanctuary or helping build a community project?
Gosh, I think for me it would be the latter. I mean, they're both great, but I do love the community projects because, I'm like a broken record. It's where the magic happens for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although I am partial to cute, adorable animals.
We did a trip to a sanctuary when we went to Thailand, and they were rescue elephants, and we got to spend a day with the elephants, and they were just so adorable. So I don't know. I guess I'll do the wildlife.
Fair enough.
I'm bad
Yeah.
at hammering stuff, so I don't think you guys want me near any tools.
You would do a good job. Okay. Would you rather explore a hidden village with no tourists or have exclusive after hours access to a famous landmark?
Gosh, these are great questions. I'm gonna go with the no tourist option.
Yeah, I dig that. I get tired of tourists myself. Even though I am one, I must get tired of me.
Yeah. Well, we all are. Yeah.
That's why we love those hidden gems, typically less people. All right. Would you rather take a family trip where everyone disconnects from technology for a week or where you document the entire journey like pro travel bloggers?
For me, it's got to be disconnecting and spending that quality time with the family.
I agree.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I
we can
agree.
do without the internet. Like, I'm happy when I don't have Wi-Fi and I travel overseas. It just gives me an excuse to disconnect. Although when I am
Yeah.
on a press trip, then I'm a little bit more active and my content creator hat comes on. So
Yeah, we were talking about this today at school. Something happened, and even the students and I and my head coach were just like, one of these days we should just like throw away all our phones, move to a cottage in the woods, and just like not bother anymore with technology because it's just like sometimes too much. Like I'll disconnect any day of the week. I'm on the phone too much as it is.
Yep. It's a blessing and a curse, really.
I agree. But thank you so much, Christopher. We truly enjoy having you on the show. So, if you had to give one piece of advice or encouragement for someone who's considering going on a volunteer trip, but maybe they're just not 100% sure if it's right for them,
I guarantee that you'll love it. So do it.
let's do it.
Just do
Yeah.
it. That's been like one of the mottos of this podcast. Just do it. Just do it.
And like you said, you can start small. Maybe you don't have to dedicate your entire trip to
Definitely.
giving back. You can spend a couple of hours a day. So you can kind of pick and choose and just like dip your toes. And like you said, you are going to love it.
Yeah. So thank you so much again for joining us today. And yeah, That's a wrap on today's episode of Bon Voyage Besties. We loved having Christopher on the show to share how five-star luxury and purpose-driven adventure can come together to create truly unforgettable journeys. From his beginnings in South Africa to building transformative travel experiences around the world, Christopher reminds us that travel isn't just about where you go, it's about the impact you leave behind. So thanks for tuning in, besties. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with your favorite travel buddy. Until next time, this is Rachel and Rosa saying, pack your bags, live with purpose, and keep chasing those meaningful adventures. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Like Christopher said, just do it. Book the trip. You'll love it.
Just do it. Book the trip.
Amazing.